This will start the lecture notes for Section 3 of Chapter 9. And in Section 3, we look at volcanic landforms. Volcano shape and structure depend on how it erupts and what materials are released. Shield volcanoes are formed by basaltic lava, and if you remember from Section 2, basaltic lava is going to be a type of lava that'll flow. They're the flowers, not the blowers. So they'll flow long distances before hardening. This is a graphic of a shield volcano. Typically, they're not your typical conical shaped volcano that you're used to seeing in movies and on TV. They're spread out over a larger distance and are characteristic of bigger volcanoes, and a lot of older volcanoes. Cinder cones, that's what you're familiar with. Cinder cones are formed when molten lava is thrown into the air from a vent and breaks into drops. Drops harden into cinders that form a steep cone around the vent. And this is a classic example of a cinder cone type volcano. I remember seeing a video one time in Mexico. A farmer was in his field, and overnight, literally overnight, a cinder cone type volcano formed in his backyard. Next type of volcano we're going to look at is a composite volcano. These are formed by layers of pyroclastic material and lava that have erupted in the past. This is a picture of the composite volcano. The thing to remember here, to visualize here, is that, as you can see on the graphic here, is that these layers build up over time. Subsequent eruptions, and it blows up, deposits the material, and produce the layers over time. The caldera is a large crater-shaped basin that forms when the top of a volcano collapses. Example, before we go on to the vocab, an example of a caldera is Crater Lake. If you've been to Tahoe, that lake is an actual caldera, that volcano that has collapsed and filled in with water. The vocab for Section 3, again, a shield volcano. It produces more of a bigger land feature, kind of looks like this, covers a lot bigger area. Shield-shaped volcano with a broad base and gently sloping sides. It's made of basaltic lava. Again, if you have a magma chamber below here, I can use red. If you have a magma chamber, that when this wells up to the surface, it's less viscous and it'll tend to flow. Shield volcanoes, it tends to flow. The volcanoes Mauna Loa and Kilauea on Hawaii are examples of a shield volcano. They cover a larger area and the lava flows from them. A cinder cone, again, is the cone-shaped volcano formed from lava fragments that have been ejected from a volcanic vent, and they're typified by this shape with the material spewing out the top. When we look at the Dante's Peak video, more of a composite volcano there, that type of environment, but the cinder cone composite, a cinder cone tends to happen, they exist by themselves. Like I said in the example of the volcano that came up overnight in Mexico, they tend to be smaller and tend to stand alone. Composite volcano, this one characteristic of like the Mount Rainier and Mount St. Helens in the Cascade Range. They're made of layers of hardened lava flows and pyroclastic materials. Mount St. Helens had erupted in the past, and that material was deposited on the sides, and you can say that it plugged the vents or plugged the cap, and when Mount St. Helens, with all the increased pressure, did blow, it blew out the sides at a weak spot in the volcano. A lahar. We're going to see evidence of a lahar in the Dante's Peak movie. It's a fast-moving mud flow that occurs when the heat associated with volcanic eruption melts snow and ice on the top of a volcano. We will see a lahar, but we're also going to see a pyroclastic flow and a lava slide in the video, and I want you to pay attention to that in that type of environment, it probably wouldn't happen. Caldera, one more time, is a large crater-shaped basin formed after the top of a volcano collapses. You can even look at the supervolcano at Yellowstone and the caldera that is formed there. It's big, but there is a caldera if you were to look at Yellowstone from the air. And finally, a lava plateau is a plateau formed from basaltic lava pouring from a crack or fissure near surface. And again, if you look at the videos that you've seen of Kilauea as it reaches the ocean in Hawaii, it forms that lava plateau because it just flows by gravity and reaches the ocean. Concludes the lecture notes for section 3.